So it was an actual reason I asked this question before we get because I know that you're a politics guy and like me, that's where we come from. But there was actually a marketing reason I asked that question because certainly a lot of the people in the types of subgenres and we'll say groups that we would find ourselves marketing to, you're going to find an overnumeration of Christians of various varieties, conservatives and things like that. Now we've had a huge event, as in October, that where a lot of those conservatives had come together on a lot of different things that we would support. There's now been kind of like a bomb thrown into a lot of that, and people have kind of started splintering off again. How does that affect as far as like you're approaching your avatars and the way that you're looking at people from a marketing perspective? Is it something that you just try to eschew? Or is it a way that you have found to kind of manage to keep the groups together in some way for your own purposes?
Oh, that's a great question. Yeah, no, I've definitely have had to change what it is that I guess you could say I tolerate more so. Because I don't really change my principles. I don't pander in that direct way. So I'm going to be consistent or vocal about what I think, even if there's a loss. Because we're like, oh, well, you support this or that. I don't even know what sometimes when people say because they're just making up all kinds of stuff. But fundamentally, I find it to be more valuable to just be principled for myself and to speak on that unabashedly, and to roll with whatever may come from that. Of course, in a business perspective, and this is for mainstream business too. I mean, lots of business people intentionally keep quiet about anything controversial because they just want to make deals.
Well, they used to.
Right. It's like, oh, okay, well, if you open up, well, now you're going to affect your business. And then they save their controversy for cigar talks by a fire with friends, right? That's when they have their, I'm going to smoke a cigar, drink whiskey, and talk the politics that I can't talk about, in my day-to-day business because, don't want to lose sales. So, I would like to think that I don't compromise for the sake of sales. I definitely would not compromise my principles. Certainly, I might think about how I say something and make sure it's not alienating, like unnecessarily. I'm not going to call someone stupid or say you're all bad or this or that just because. I'm gonna choose my words in a way that's just more about reason, evidence, and the ideas.
I'm curious what you think about like the creators that go out there and seem to make an entire career out of throwing bombs, essentially. To me, like whatever short-term gains you get out of like short-term controversy and being like the in the eye, it just doesn't ever seem to translate to long-term staying power in anything. Like the minute that controversy is up, like whatever effort you put into it's kind of up too, it feels like.
Yes, and you can't do that frequently and in different sides without completely destroying any fandom you have, right? It's one thing to be like, okay, I'm going to always throw my controversial stuff, but in a direction, right? And you're consistent in that direction. It's like, okay, well, now you have this side of fan-based things, and people definitely do that. Yeah, I mean, this certainly, it's something that can hurt your business and really hurt your fandom in the long term if you do that too sporadically and keep offending people all across the board. You know what I mean? It's going to cost you. And that's why a lot of these people who are just, Twitter shock jocks, you could be like, oh, wow, they have 9,000 followers or some dumb thing. And they're like, yeah. And no one would literally lift a finger to help them do anything if they ever wanted to do anything. You know what I mean? It's like, and nobody cares. Like they're all broke, dysfunctional people who follow you are bots. And it's like, okay, cool. It's like, that's why I laugh at this stuff. Cause it's like, I don't care about my quantity of fans or followers. I care about the quality, right? I'd rather have 100 people who are fans of me who would show up to my event or show up to support what I do than 10,000 followers and maybe one would ever even support what I do. What's the point? You know what I mean? It's like, oh, okay, cool. I got 10,000 followers and okay, no one would show up for anything. That's why I like laugh at these people. I'm like, oh, wow, you think you're so cool because you have all these different, whatever. I was on this podcast, on that. I'm like, okay, cool. And what does that mean for you in terms of your success? Right? It just doesn't mean anything because it doesn't translate to anything and nobody would lift a finger to support that person ever for anything. So that, that's what matters to me. I want quality over quantity always. Quantity is great, but not at the expense of quality. And that's a part of how I curate. I look for people who tend to be more long-term oriented and principled. I want to be friendly with those people. I don't want to be friendly with the flash pan people who, oh yeah, I'm a libertarian today, and then 2 years later they're like, and yeah, you're stupid and you're gonna be in a boxcar.
Oh, I've got some names I could throw there, but we'll stay out of it.
Yeah, there's certainly some people. So it's just one of those things where, I value people who are more long-term oriented in that way and more principled. Doesn't mean I don't do outreach. I do outreach all the time to people. But you don't have to be my buddy, close friend for that. It's just enjoy my content on the outside, but that doesn't mean, okay, you have to be, arm in arm inside my Facebook. You know what I mean? Learn on the outside with my public posts or this or that. And then if you become more principled and you're like, oh yes, I really, I value these things and I really, want that, then, then there's opportunity for whatever. But, it's a different paradigm for us if we're in a more ideological, kind of grouping. We're not out here selling hot dogs, so it's a little bit different. When you're trying to deal with products that inherently have either an outright or undertone message for liberty. It's going to have a little bit of a different angle in how you rally people around that.
So the one thing I'll say is, the word that I always throw around, because it's probably the most important word in marketing and people never think of it this way, and it's about relationships. It's always about relationships. It's about, putting out the good faith, finding the people that are, going to buy your products, ingratiating yourself to them, finding the people that are willing to help you, ingratiating yourself to those people. And, you want to try and waste as little time as you can on people that are just in it for themselves. And trust me, you'll know them pretty damn quick, because it's never about, hey, I'd love to help you. It's about, well, what can you do for me? And the bottom line is, it should be okay to ask people for help, because we all need help. But you can't have all of the help rely on what someone else is going to be able to bring to the table, I guess.
Right, and certainly for a close circle, yeah.